Good day to all. Welcome to Extreme Recap. In the initial scene, we are acquainted with a harsh, tragic world that is constrained by a supposed state. Every aspect of life is ruled by their stringent regulations, and they are known to manipulate minds. Inventiveness and advancements are supplanted by over-the-top faithfulness towards the state's conviction. The focus then shifts to Janet Tyler, a woman who appears to have been abducted and brought into this world. She is from another planet where mistreatment doesn't exist. It turns out that she has just completed her 11th treatment in an effort to correct her facial deformity. The state wants her to appear like everyone else in this place, based on her initial appearance. Janet is confined to a hospital room, where bandages completely cover her head, concealing her face from view. She will be hated and rejected by society. Her face is described as a pitiable, distorted mass of flesh by the doctors and nurses hiding in the shadows of the darkened hospital room, indicating that she is very ugly. However, the treatment procedure's final outcome will remain a mystery. Until the wraps are eliminated, Janet, who is overpowered by the unendurable presence of the swabs all over, begs the specialist. She makes every effort to persuade him to take off the burdensome covers sooner rather than later. Nonetheless, the specialist stays mindful and uncertain, communicating questions about the possibilities of things ending up great, trying to comfort her. He tells her that a lot of other people have experienced the same tragedy. In point of fact, some people appear to be much worse than she is. He proceeds to say that assuming the ongoing treatment demonstrates fruitless, the state would allow her to meet others of her sort so they can frame a local area and rest easier thinking about themselves. However, Janet's dislike of living with such people makes this idea even more troubling. Endeavoring to persuade the specialist of her longing to exist as a typical individual, Janet suggests wearing masks to cover her face. She even commits that she won't ever irritate anyone or even go close to them to help a living. She will take on any job, no matter how big or small. Nonetheless, notwithstanding every last bit of her cases, the specialist advises her that social still up in the air by the state and his activities are limited by the guidelines laid out in that. Janet, who has become enraged, vehemently opposes the system's unfairness. She asserts that neither divine authority nor the power to dictate human behavior exist in the state. So it can't simply rebuff individuals for being brought into the world with distortions. Janet's frustration grows as her efforts to persuade the doctor prove fruitless, sending her into a frenzy. She yells for the bandages to be taken off her face at the top of her lungs. Immediately, however, the doctor eventually decides to remove the layers of bandages around Janet's face after somehow managing to hold her and administer a dose of sedative, which put her into a deep sleep. After that, he directs his coworkers to arrange for the same thing. A nurse, however, is uneasy about Janet's appearance and hesitates to carry out the orders while the preparations are underway. At the point when the specialist learns of this, he ends up being noticeably upset and questions why Janet or any other individual ought to be passed judgment on exclusively founded on how they look from an external perspective. He actually feels sorry for the patients and wishes that everyone treat them like regular people. Notwithstanding, the medical caretaker essentially advises him to forego scrutinizing her any further, as it is viewed as injustice. Hearing this, the specialist winds up in an extremely challenging circumstance. He really wants to help Janet feel better and support her. And yet, he needs to keep the severe guidelines made by the state. In the following scene, we are acquainted with a noticeable figure in the decision order of the state, who becomes the overwhelming focus on public TV to discuss the ethics of a magnificent congruity. The pioneer thinks back about a past time of mankind that was seen as lacking heading. Lacking efficiency and unreasonably determined by nostalgic feelings. People at that time held the bizarre belief that individual differences did not significantly matter. They didn't segregate when it came to race, project religion and, all the more critically, facial elements. Notwithstanding, the pioneer with certainty attests that these convictions have now been disproved. There are scientific facts that demonstrate superiority. On the off chance that the person has better facial elements, to this end Canada has had a head of the state for quite a long time who appreciates flipping out on Halloween. Back at the emergency clinic, the specialist has reached a resolution. He is about to remove Janet's bandages, releasing her from all of her problems. However, before beginning this crucial procedure, he gives her a firm warning and tells her to stay still. The doctor emphasizes that if she even moves slightly, he will force the nurses to hold her back and give her anesthesia, which will cause her to become unconscious. Hearing this, Janet is a piece frightened. However, she answers with a quiet voice that she will be at her best way of behaving. She will likewise forego being personal or crying. With this understanding laid out, the specialist begins the sensitive course of disentangling the gauzes. The environment in the room is tense as they have gone through weeks on the medical procedure orientation. It also starts to get nervous, but the doctor calms her down quickly and comforts her. He reassures her that she will still have the opportunity to live a long and fulfilling life even if the final outcome of this procedure does not meet her expectations. She can live in that community with people whose circumstances are similar to hers. Individuals don't separate by any means. Instead, they assist one another. It almost resembles the earlier times when everyone was treated equally. However, they are now all poor as well. Janet becomes concerned upon hearing all of this and inquires if there are any other options in the event that the procedure fails. Accordingly, the specialist uncovers that under unambiguous conditions, the state allows the elimination of specific people considered unwanted. He does, however, acknowledge that there are a number of considerations to be made, such as Janet's age and overall physical condition. Since she is solid and youthful, it is basically 100% sure that she will not be annihilated. Amid a lot of anticipation. When the final bandage layer is applied, the moment arrives. Lifted in the end. In the hope that the procedure will be successful, everyone watches with nervousness. However, as soon as they see her face, their expressions immediately shift. Sadly, Janet cannot change the ugly and undesirable person she has become despite all of these procedures. After that, we finally see Janet's face, which, in contrast to what we expected, is awe-inspiringly beautiful. In our familiar world, she resembles an actress or model in her mesmerizing appearance. Nonetheless, in a stunning new development. Then, the camera pans to the staff, including doctors, nurses, and others. Additionally, we learn that their faces are completely distorted and formed. With furrowed brows, their faces appear droopy. Eyes that were drained and lifeless, swollen lips that were twisted, wrinkled noses, and nostrils that were clearly larger. Reminiscent of large noses with this discovery. Finally, we learn about the place's character. Having distorted facial highlights is viewed as typical and alluring, while the beautiful faces are despised and hated. They are given less freedoms or ridiculed by local people and are illegal from dating the helpful ones. In a nutshell, they are treated like trash and receive an excessive amount of hate. In the meantime, when Janet sees the essences of the medical clinic staff, she blows a gasket and starts shouting. All through. She assumed that the locals would have better looks, but the reality is quite the opposite. Dr. Auntie Going and the Piggledy Squirms attempt to quiet her down. She pushes them aside and leaves the room, claiming that everything is fine. However, Janet begins to witness the startling revelations of what is considered normal in this alternate reality as she moves through the hospital's corridors. She is confronted with the sight of people whose appearances are very different from the conventional standards of beauty she had known. She is confronted with these people everywhere she turns. In the meantime, the state leader's sudden appearance was announced by flat-screen televisions throughout the hospital. In his talk, the leader exhorts the people by announcing the advantages of conformity with individuals of a similar kind. He has all the earmarks of being a disdainful individual who loathes people from different universes. In contrast, Janet enters a room and encounters a handsome individual. Based on our standards, he goes by the name Walter Smith. All of a sudden, the specialist likewise shows up and conveys some reassuring news. He reveals that Walter is one of the residents of the deformed community where Janet will be placed. Her perceived ugliness will not be a cause for concern for the state in this community, which is entirely made up of people who share her physical characteristics. Janet is overpowered by the data, and she doesn't have the foggiest idea how to respond. Walter comes up to her and comforts her, sensing her anxiety and doubt. He explains that she will undoubtedly find love and a place to belong in the community and promises her a happy life there. In addition, he imparts a song that has endured through the ages. The excellence lies according to the onlooker, and that actually intends that while individuals of the state and their general public might consider Janet's appearances ugly, there exist others in the more extensive world who will see her natural excellence following this close-to-home trade. Janet and Walter start their excursion towards their different local area, one next to the other. At the moment, our protagonist is thrilled to meet other people who are like her now that she has finally found a sense of security. She wants to go about normal things, which are impossible under state rule. Like going out for shopping, eating at eateries, celebrating at clubs, forming new friendships, etc. But now that she is a part of this community, her dreams will come true. When the movie comes to an end, the medical staff watches the couple leave a turn on notifications. Please subscribe for more videos like this, and like the channel to support it. Thank you very much for watching.